All right. Good morning. Here we go. This is Bubba Live. All right. Let me dump his head. I don't know. I can listen to it today. How we doing out there today, fellas? You know what time it is. It's Bubba time. Here we are. We have made it to another Monday morning. And we're live. If you're on the road, in the truck, halfway through a microwave biscuit, or just staring at your steel toes, wondering why it's Monday again, you made it. You showed up, man. And that, my friend, is more than most. I'm glad you're here. Glad you made it. Let's see. Let me know where you headed today, boys and girls. There might be a girl or two out there. Y'all give me a shout. Y'all give me a shout out, and I'll give you a shout out. Let me know where you're headed. Drop your trade or your town in the comments, and I'll give you some shout outs. If y'all show yourselves to be out there. Yeah. Give me a minute here to finish it. Let me show y'all what I look at. Let me show y'all my desk. Let's see here what about. All right. This is the you devil. There we go. This is the old desktop. This is what y'all see. This is what I'm looking at when I'm looking at y'all every morning. The old desk there. All them notes. And then I got a pile of books over here that I'm working on some new OSHA stuff, some new presentations, and there's another coffee cup. And anyway, piles and piles, boys and girls, piles and piles. Oh, there's some more piles behind me. Let's see. Show you. Oop, there's my big old head. Yeah. Yeah. There's the old skull and old chicken. Anyway, that's what I'm looking at every morning, and I'm here and glad to be here. Y'all let me load up with a pinch of tobacco. It's a bad habit. You young folks stay away from it. I need to quit myself. Y'all offer some encouragement on how to give up the old tobacco. All right. Where we at? It is Monday morning, 25 July. And you're rolling. Tell me where you're going this morning. Tell me what trades you're in. Let me know what's going on where you're at. Come on. Yeah. Let me know where you're going. You a guy who headed for the job site, or you a foreman picking up some guys, or a superintendent picking up some guys and trying to swing by the shop and maybe by the Home Depot and pick up some material and get the day rolling? Let me know. Now, I don't want you watching this video if you're driving, but you can put it on the old radio there with your Bluetooth and listen to it. And if you get pulled over to get you a cup of coffee or something, you can send me a text or something. Y'all be safe out there. It ain't really that important that you. I mean, if you tune in, I'm tickled pink that you are tuned in, but I don't want you hurting yourself. Not on account of listening to some guy on the darn YouTube act a fool. So anyway, y'all let me know how I'm looking out there. Am I? If you're watching, let me know how the video's streaming. Trying to put this thing together every Monday morning. I got another live stream on Thursday evenings. That's for some local people. But anyway, glad to have you here this morning. And today, the word of the week. Let's talk about this. This is something I always talk about. The word of the week is ownership. Ownership. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't mean property. I don't mean your house. I don't mean your pickup truck. I mean owning your attitude, your work, owning your mistakes, and your role on the crew. Don't wait for a foreman to fix it. Don't blame the last guy. Be your own end. That's how you build. That's how you build respect and make progress. I'll never forget the time a guy had to torque down a critical bolt on a steel stair stringer. Didn't find out till inspection. I could have passed the puck. The guy could have passed the buck. He could have said, well, I had so-and-so on there, or I did this or did that, but you know what? He owned it. He fixed it. And the inspector shook his hand instead of writing him up. Ownership builds trust on and off the site. So guys, make sure when you're out there, if you make a mistake, man, you're doing something. I've had a lot of opportunities, working with young people out there. And that was a true definition of a leader, when somebody had the ability, the gumption, the character to own up to when they've done something wrong, when they've made a mistake. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. That means you're learning. The guy who don't make the mistake is the guy who's hiding in the shadows. Guys, he's hiding in the shadows out there. He ain't making no mistakes. You know why? He ain't doing nothing. He ain't doing nothing. And the flip side of that is a true leader gives it away. He gives away success. Every true leader I've known, when somebody was complimenting him on a job well done, he says it was the team. I had good leadership in place. They did the job perfect. All I did was consult while, gave them what they needed, got them their tools, got them their drawings, got them what they needed to make them successful. Those were the guys who did the work. Those are the guys who made this project successful. Wasn't me. And my experience says that is a true leadership trait. That is a guy who is a true leader, who gives it away. Owns all the mistakes, though. Owns them all. If his team makes a mistake, he says, we made a mistake. I made a mistake. I didn't do this. I didn't follow up. And, but when it goes right, he gives it away. Yeah, my guys did a great job. They did what they did it right. So let me know what kind of boss you got. Does he give you all the praise? Does he compliment you on the good work that you do? Or I've had a couple of more knuckleheads at work with me, man. Used to upset me so bad. Ain't no iron team. There ain't no iron team. I did this and I did that, and the guy just, you see him marching up and down the halls of work there at the corporate office with the phone in his ear, yapping and yapping, looking busy. He'd be talking to his wife, looking busy. Yeah, I guess everybody has that role. That's them dudes, right? That's them dudes. Talk it up. Anyway, that ain't who we are, is it? No, sir. That ain't who we are. Ownership builds trust. Any of you guys out there hanging steel today? Hanging the steel hangers out there this morning? Y'all on the work? How about anybody working from scaffolding today? Anybody working from heights on a busy job site? Do y'all tether your tools? Man, that is the biggest pain in the butt. Tethering tools. I tell you who's an expert at it. I can't remember the name of the scaffolding outfit, but them old boys knew how to tether up some tools, and they did it like experts too. And then again, I've seen companies spend thousands of dollars on tool tethers, and not a darn person that did it right. The company would spend, and here's the thing. It was a training. It's all about the training. It's all about expectations. So if you're on a job site and you got to have your tools tethered, make sure you learn how to do it right. There's videos out there on the YouTube on how to tether tools. These companies that sell these tethers, it behooves them to show you how to do it right. And they spend a lot of time and technical expertise in putting out videos to show you how to properly tether them tools, how to use those tethers, mount your tools to the tether so that they're efficient. And so if you're a tool tether, if you got to tether your tools, learn how to do it properly. Foremen, supervisors, project managers, if them tools ain't tethered right, that's on you. If them guys don't know, they've never had any documented training on tool tethering, that's on you. Now, if they've had documented training on tool tethering, then it's on them, and you should hold them accountable. But accountability starts at the top and works its way down. So, make sure you understand how to properly tether those tools. Man, it's not only is it dangerous, but think about how inconvenient it is. Think about how inconvenient, man. If you're a scaffold guy and you've got 2 or 3 wrenches that you use on a regular basis, and you're up 3 or 4 stories and you drop a darn wrench, you got to monkey down and go get that stuff and then monkey back up. That's a lot of work on you. So learn how to tether them tools. And then the safety aspect is, a 1 pound wrench from 20 feet is packing a punch like a bowling ball if it hits somebody. And then you have angular velocity. If you drop a wrench and you're 5 stories up on a scaffolding and that wrench falls 3 stories and hits a cross member on that scaffolding, it picks up some velocity. I think they call it angular velocity. And that thing hits somebody, it's probably like being hit by a darn Mack truck. And it's probably going to leave the job site. And if you know what I'm saying, when you think about it, if you're 100 feet in the air, okay, the and the danger zone, according to OSHA, the drop zone is 150% of that. So the danger zone is 150 feet away from the face that you're on. And if that wrench hits, it could go beyond that 150 feet with the angular velocity. So I want you to think about that. That could, man, that's a dangerous place to be in. So let's tether it, clip it, use those lanyards. What you drop from above doesn't just land; it lands hard. That's the kind of mistake you can't get a band-aid on. It gets you a lawsuit, or worse, you could kill somebody. Uh, I saw a picture of a guy that had a spud wrench in his shoulder where it fell. A spud wrench. It's sharp on one end, it's adjustable on the other, or it's a fixed size on the other. And it dropped and it hit old boy in the shoulder and went darn near into his lungs. So, y'all tether those tools out there today. I don't know. If you use tool tethering, let me know. Give me a comment. I'd like to hear about it and hear what kind of stuff you've seen or had happen with a tethered tool. Now, another thing that we see a lot is we're on a job site. Y'all got some notes, so I'm just looking around here trying to make sure I can stay on track. Take a minute here. I got an assistant, and I call her Pleurophoria. Pleurophoria is a Greek derivative of knowledge, trustworthiness, the information. And I call her a she, and I guess she called herself a she, Philophoria. She has an image of herself, and she helps me quite a bit. And I'd like to give her a shout out for the work she does. And she's helped write a script to try and keep me on track when I talk to you guys, so that I kind of try and make sense, and she helps me with that task and some of these things to talk about. But when I get feedback from you guys, she and I'll put together the next Monday morning. And she helps me script for safety videos and leadership videos and all that stuff. So your comments are important to me. But that's I would like to address, mixed crews, and here this is a job site challenge, and I have seen this over my career a bunch of times, and it's really, it's I've had go arounds, and it's mixed crews with mixed priorities. And here's an example. I'm on a job site and I've got to get cranes in, and I got work to do, and there's a steel guy on there, and he wants to lay down his steel everywhere, and I want to lay down some material too. And we both, of course, think we're top priority, right? And so he goes to the, I'm trying to work it out with him, and he gets frustrated, and he goes to the general contractor who's in charge of both of us, and makes his complaint, and builds a case, whatever. And and it forces me to be in a position that really wasn't conducive to my productivity. And the argument had been made, and the GC stuck to his guns, and I accepted it. And when I accepted it, I also included an email stating that those conditions could cause delays because of inefficiency in my, it would create inefficiencies in my operation. I didn't get upset and I didn't bang away. I just remained silent, said, okay, I'm going to do exactly what you want. You are the boss on this job. This is your sandbox and I'm going to do it, but I'm letting you know that it could, not necessarily will, but it could cause delays in my work. And you have prioritized that this individual has, the right to all this space, and then I'll act accordingly. And I don't remember if we had any delays, but what happened at that point was that the steel guy was expecting some kind of retaliatory action, and I didn't bother me any. That's on the GC's back. He made the call. I said, I told him, I said, you the steel man, you think you got top priority. The GC agrees with you. I'm to work around you. And there might have been a couple delays that were caused from it, and I was certainly sure to document it. And I don't think it was detrimental on the entire project scope, delay at times and all that. But it might have caused some heartburn a time or two, but we did it. Before the steel guy got in there, he had guys in there that had to dig the footings and put the rebar and work the footings and get it ready to go, and then pour the slab in some cases before he could hang the steel. And I let them deal with their own conflicts. I knew where I had to be, and I told my crew about it, and told them that's what we're going to have to work with, and they made it happen. We made it happen. But if you got one crew trying to pour a slab and the other crew's chasing underground, you ever been there? Different priorities, same space at same time. It can be a real challenge. Send me a comment. Let me know if you've had any experience like that. But here's the key. Communicate early. That steel guy and we tried to figure it out, and he got to the point where he didn't want to figure it out anymore and went to the GC and okay, go. But it didn't necessarily, yeah, it did. It damaged our relationship. I knew from that point on that he was the kind of contractor that if he didn't go get his way, he was going to be the baby and go cry to mama and daddy and get brother in trouble. I see it with my grandson. We'll be playing. He don't like the way I'm doing. He'll quit playing and go find his nana and says, Papa ain't playing right. And I'm like, I can't read that boy's mind. And it's the same way on the job site. But if we communicate early and we communicate often, then we can work it out. Ask, what's your target today? What's your target this week? Figure out how to make it work before the foreman starts hollering. Be proactive, not reactive. That's the difference between a crew that functions and one that fights. So, yeah, I'll consider that. All right, that's enough of that old crazy stuff. Anybody got any jokes this morning? I'd like to hear a good joke after all that darn monologue. I got one. I don't know how funny it is, but y'all tell me. It's about bricklayers. You know, we normally joke about uh, old electricians, right? But this morning, it's bricklayers. You guys are on the line this morning. Uh, so why don't bricklayers ever lie? Because they always lay it straight. All right, all right. I know it wasn't that good, but if you got one better, put it in the comments and I'll share it. Anyway, y'all have that old boy come on to the job site, new guy. Boy, he looks sharp. Got you see them new boots on the job site. Y'all know what's up with that, right? New boots on the job site. Uh, I had brand new lunch box and brand new tools, brand new tool belt. Forgot to take the price tag off a couple of them, and a real dandy we call them, right? And we got to get to laughing about it, speculating, thinking, he'll never last. He won't make it 3 days. He won't make it. He won't make it a week. Yeah, it turns out we were right. He made it into lunch and found out our porta potties didn't have mirrors in them. Ain't that a dandy? Ain't he a dandy? Y'all got a joke? I want to hear something. Yeah. Quit because the porta potty didn't have mirrors in it. I don't know about y'all, but I don't tend. I ain't gonna say. I ain't gonna say. When it comes to porta potty, I got my body trained. I have regular meals. I tried and just eat regular times and regular spaces, regular time. Why? Why? So that my body goes to the bathroom at a regular time. It does its waste business at a regular time. And I've got it trained where in the morning, when it smells coffee, my body smells coffee. And I always drink a big glass of water in the morning. I got a few meds I take, but I always drink a big glass of water. And brushing my teeth and I smell that coffee, it's magical. It's a magic moment. That's when I know that I got to take care of waste removal. A little housekeeping, so to say, a little body housekeeping. But didn't have a mirror in the porta potty. And the other thing is, I just soon piss in the weeds and piss in a porta potty, especially when you got 100-degree day. That's what I'm thinking. Now, some job sites you can't go off into the weeds. It's pretty certain you're going to have to use a porta john. But anyway, didn't have the porta potty didn't have a mirror. Did that paint a picture of a dandy or what? You know, back in the old West, they called him a dandy. Well, ain't you a dandy? Anyway, there we go. Come on, y'all. Good morning. Good morning. Wake it up. Wake it up. Here I am struggling, trying to get out here and be a comedian and talk to y'all. And it's I'm glad I have the opportunity to do it. Um, I'm glad you guys are out there getting it. Uh, and here's something, young guys come to me and they want to know, how do I stand out when I'm the youngest guy on the job site, or I'm the newest guy on the job site? And I'm not talking about the dandy who didn't quit because he didn't have a mirror in the porta john. I'm talking about the young dude who comes out there and he is just wide-eyed. He's never been on a job site. He's been to trade school, he's been to high school, and he read and write, and he's been to trade school, and he understands how to read the plans, and he understands a lot, but he's never been on a job site for that practical experience. And he wants to be successful. His father and uncles are in the trades, and maybe have an older brother in the trade. Uh, and he asks, he says, well, how do I stand out? How do I be successful in working here? And the only advice that, ask questions. Now, some people say ask smart questions. Well, you might not have the knowledge to ask a smart question. Don't be afraid to ask any question. I don't care. Now, you might get a little jostling if it's too crazy because of your inexperience. They might laugh at you, especially when somebody sent you to pick up an air wrench in the tool room and you standing there at the counter asking for an air wrench, or something crazy, tire water or whatever. But ask the question. If you see a process, you see a guy you're working with, a tradesman who's got some experience and he's performing a task that you're unfamiliar with, ask him. Say, hey, can you give me a monologue of what you're doing? Talk through what you're doing. It's like, I was a truck driver, and there's at least 105 items that you check on a truck before it's called a pre-trip. And it's same with heavy equipment. There's checklists. If you need a checklist, let me know. I've got tons of equipment inspection checklist. And I trained truck drivers. Trained them. And as I walked around inspecting the equipment, I would start at the front. I would start at the front fender, check the oil, check the fluids, start the engine, let air pressure build up while I walked around and touched front tire lug nuts, pitman arm, steering nose. As I'm walking around the truck, I would start at the driver's side in that front corner, walk all the way to the back, checking lights, checking brake, how much brakes we got, checking tires, checking this, checking that, checking this, and work all the way back around to the front of the truck, checking and touching and pointing at everything, and then get in the truck and go through the air pressure checks, the warning lights and the warning alarms and all that for low pressure, making sure all that's working. And I did it 2 or 3 times with them. And then I would say, now, that's what I need you to do with me every day. And now a trainee on a truck, and just like anything else, He was probably with me 6 weeks, and I did that for 3 days. And then for the next 6 weeks when he was with me, that's what he had to do. I insisted that he do that. Hey, man, I'm tired of doing this. Well, when you're not with me, you can do it any way you want. But when I'm with you and you got my life in my hands because I'm sitting in that truck with you, you're going to do this. That was just, every now and then I'd get people who push back, but most of the time, those guys understood what I was doing. And they ended up training down the road because of those good habits that were put in them. And I learned that in truck driving school. Okay. So you set expectations, and young men, if that guy's teaching you that, you pay attention and you make sure you do the monologue or the talk through when you're doing it and he's watching over you. Say, now I'm going to check this. Now I'm going to check this. Now I'm going to check that. What that does is that builds muscle memory. It builds muscle memory so that when you do that, you're automatically doing it. Here's another example. When I first got into the safety business many moons ago, I had checklist, 4 pages of checklist for all the items I was checking. And there was probably 100 different items. And I would make sure to check off whether that task was being done or not. And after a period of time, I still did the checklist. And if I missed something, I'd have to go back and do it. But I got to where that I automatically keyed on things just because of that routine. I automatically knew what to look for. That was part of the training process. But anyway, just as the new guy, show up early, learn the names, ask the smartest question you know how. Okay? But ask the questions, and don't touch anything and don't do anything until you've been told how to. And it's as simple as that. And if the old head says, yeah, go over there and put this, install this, and if you run across a problem, go get him. So let me tell you what I've done. Done this, and it ain't hooking up here. And he'll go, well, you did everything right except on step number 3. Go back to step number 3 and make that adjustment, and it should fit in and fit up just right. So that is the way to do it. Now, somebody else said something about the old, y'all, I've got one, and it's a wristband. It goes around your wrist, and it's nylon. It's got a Velcro closure on it, but it's got a magnet that runs all the way around it. And sometimes when I'm at the workbench doing leather craft or silversmithing or something like that, or even taking something apart and to service it and then to reassemble it, you can put your fasteners on it. And if you're working with small tools, small screwdrivers, they'll even stick to that magnetic band. I've got mixed experience with it. Any of y'all out there ever tried that? The magnetic wristband? Don't knock it till you try it. It does have some application. These things can be gold at times, boy, especially when you got a bunch of little tiny stuff around and you're trying to reassemble it. And, I use a lot of magnetic trays. Those are the things that I go through. But if you've ever used one of those magnetic bracelets, magnetic wristbands, I think the one I got is probably couple inches thick. I don't know if I can show that or not, but it's thicker than this watch band. You know, it's pretty thick. It's not real comfortable, but you can get used to it. But I found it good for when I'm working on small, intricate things. Matter of fact, I might use it when I work on this. Anybody? Anybody play harmonica? I got this thing at the flea market. It needs to be cleaned, but I think this lower reed's a little dirty. I need to open this thing up and clean it, but it's got a bunch of little screws on it. And this one. Yeah, let it go flat. Anyway, so it's got a bunch of little screws on it. It's on my desk. That's why it's on my desk. I showed y'all the desk. That's why it's there, because I'm going to try and take it apart. I'll probably mess it up. I'm glad I bought it at a flea market. I'm on time. So it might be good for something like that, or some of this other crazy stuff I've got in here. You'll see a book on the shelf there. I always keep that title turned out. It's called Think and Grow Rich, and it's by Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon Hill was he was back in the day, you know, probably back there in the 30s or whatever, back in the day. And he was commissioned by Andrew Carnegie. Now, some of you younger guys, you're not gonna, some of us older guys don't even know who Andrew Carnegie is. But Andrew Carnegie was the originator of U.S. Steel. And he was a very wealthy man. But he commissioned Napoleon Hill, who wrote that book right there, to look at successful people and find the common elements of success. And one of those people that he looked at that time was a big consumer of Carnegie's steel, and that was Henry Ford. And there's a couple stories about Henry Ford in there, like when he wanted that flathead V8, that V8 engine. He wanted that V8 engine, and he told his engineers to go to work and develop that V8 engine. Some of you guys know the old flathead V8. The old engineers came to him and said, "Man, Mr. Ford, we can't figure it out." And he says, "Go back to work. I want this engine." And they'd go back to the drawing board and they'd finagle with it, and they'd take the old Model T engines and try and reconfigure them. And then you had how to, those engines back then, they were cast, and they're still cast today. They're cast engines. So you've got to have the castings just right, or they won't hold up. They'll fall apart. They'll crack in the water jacket. It won't cool. Blah, 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 blah. All the valve opening, the positioning of the valves, the proper water jacket alignments. Mr. Ford, again, they came back. He says, "I don't care. I want a V8 engine. Go back to work." And he'd be over there looking over their shoulder, and he was running, a motor company. I guess he would be like the Elon Musk of the day. Okay, he was thriving industry, really out there making things happen. And They figured it out. We have a V8 engine now. A V8 engine in all of its different configurations, but the first one was developed by the Ford Motor Company under the direction of Henry Ford. So, one of the things that Henry Ford said, he said a lot of things. Now, a lot of people disagreed with him on a lot of different stuff. He said, you can't build a reputation on what you're going to do. Now, think about that. That's gospel in our line of work. Don't talk about what you plan to build. Build it. Reputation doesn't come from potential. It comes from production. And that makes a lot of sense. And Napoleon Hill, I think in that book or in another book, he says that, tell the world what you're going to do, but show it first. So, it's the same as what you're doing right now. You know, your wife knows you're going to work. Your kids know you're going to work. And you could tell your boss man, yeah, man, I'm going to be there at 6:30 tomorrow morning. Okay. And then when you don't show up till 7:15, I got in traffic. What he's going to look at is when you're there. He's not going to ask, but he's going to see. And that's what you need to consider as you move throughout your day. So, show the world what you're going to do. And do it. Do it. All right. Moving along. Henry Ford. All right. All right. Let's see. This week on last week's toolbox topic was on, let me look at that. Complacency. Y'all check it out. I published it on Friday. The toolbox talk was on complacency, the hidden killer. So make sure that you don't become complacent in what you do. You know, people say, I've done this 1,000 times. Yeah. And that's when you're lulled into mental sleep because you've done it so many times, and you'll work right past a hazard because you're off in some la land, because you've done it 1,000 times. When I've done investigations, safety investigations, I've found out that man, you could be the old head on site there, and you're not paying attention, and trying to pull it up. I can't remember everything I do. There we go. Scripts, complacency. Shoot. All right. Let me bring that down. Experience is a good thing. It keeps the job moving. It helps train the new guys. It builds confidence. But there's a point where confidence crosses the line into complacency. And that, my friend, is where danger lives. We're talking about a hidden hazard on every job site. It's not always dangling overhead. It's not sparking behind a panel. And it's not covered in rust and rebar. No, this one lives between your ears. It's called complacency. And it usually starts with one of the most dangerous phrases in construction. I've done this 100 times. What is complacency? Complacency isn't laziness. It isn't ignorance. In fact, it usually shows up in people who know the job the best. It's the guys who've been doing this for 20, 30 years. The ones who can frame with one hand, run conduit in their sleep, or sling rebar with a blindfold. They've seen it all, and that's the problem. Because when you think you've seen it all, you stop seeing what's right in front of you. We start walking past the hazards without noticing. We forget to double check the harness. We skip the pre-use inspection of the saw. We don't call on a spotter because you backed out of tighter spots before. You stop asking questions. You stop paying attention. You stop respecting the danger. Let me put it to you plainly. Complacency is a slow fade. It doesn't show up loud. It doesn't announce itself. It just lets you get comfortable. It whispers, "You got this," while it's setting a trap. All it takes is 1 second of overconfidence to change your life. Here's a story. Guy I knew, call him Mike, been operating heavy equipment longer than a lot of people been alive. He could run an excavator with surgical precision. People used to joke, "Oh, Mike could pour you a cup of coffee with that bucket." One day, hops in the cab, fires it up, forgets to set his mirror. Didn't spot the laborer setting grade stakes behind him. Didn't ask for a ground guide. It only took a few seconds. Now, nobody died, but a young guy spent 6 weeks on crutches, and Mike never wanted to run equipment again. Why? Because he thought, "I've done this 100 times. So what do? Respect the routine. Just because it's the same task doesn't mean it's the same condition. Weather, lighting, people around you, every day is different. Number 2, make time for the basics. Make sure you do your inspections. Make sure you understand the spotter signals. Check your fall protection. These aren't new guy things. These are still alive things. Stay mentally present. If you're rushing through the motions on autopilot, you're vulnerable. Stay sharp. Look for what's changed since the last time. And finally, challenge each other. If you see a brother or sister on the site getting too casual, say something. Don't let them walk off a ledge just because they're experienced. And if you're a supervisor, if you're leading a crew, don't mistake confidence for competence. Ask the seasoned hands to lead by example. No shortcut. Check in on the veterans as often as the rookies. Sometimes the most at risk worker isn't the new guy. It's the guy who stopped looking. And listen, there's honor in experience. We respect it. We need it. But if you've been doing this job for decades, don't let your wisdom turn into blindness. The job doesn't change or hasn't changed, but you have. You've earned the right to be careful. So the next time that little voice says, you don't need to check that, you've done it 100 times, answer it with, yeah, and I want to be around to do it 100 more. So that is what last week's safety topic. Now this week we're going to be talking about hydration. We're going to be talking about hydration and heat related. And boys, we're in a heat dome. We're running out of time, but we're in a heat dome situation. And it's going to be hot. Make sure you're staying hydrated out there. Make sure you've got the proper nutrition, and please stay hydrated. Make sure you got ample water. If you're feeling thirsty, you're probably a little too late. So stay hydrated out there this week, in this hot weather. All right. Hey, listen, if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. You know what to do. And here we are. It's finally. But before we go, I just want to say this. This week, I'm grateful for the decent but hot weather. You know, we've had a lot of rain. Let's be grateful for the steady work and the fact that I get to do this with y'all. Now, we ain't always perfect. We ain't all got it perfect, including me. You see me fumbling around on this thing. But we've all got something worth showing up for. Make sure you keep your heads on straight. Make sure you keep the steady hands and your word good. And remember, you're not just building structures, you're building your name. And this is Bubba. And as always, stay safe, stay sharp, stay on time. And as always, have a grateful day. And we'll see you next Monday morning at 5 a.m.